Hello everyone, welcome back to the workshop. In this video we are going to be forging a blank that I sell over at my website, blacksmithpdfs.com. You can find a link to that in the description down below. And then I will also have Jessica at some point add a little card that you can click on. That's a direct link to take you over to our website if you have any interest in purchasing one of these blanks from us. So let's get right into the video. Okay, so the blank that we're going to be taking a look at today is the 10-inch skillet blank with a traditional style handle. Now this handle is like you've seen before, it's got a teardrop style on it. Again, this can be textured in any number of ways that you would like. I, however, am just going to leave this plain. I'm going to leave it untextured for this particular example. And if you buy this in an entire kit, you can buy either just this portion here, which is just the 10-inch skillet blank. We also offer these in 8-inch and 12-inch as well. Or you can buy it as a kit option, which it comes with the handle of your choice. We have two different styles. We have the traditional and the hook tail, and then you also get the rivets to put it together. As you can see, you're like, wait a minute, isn't there more to this? No, there really isn't. It's really that simple. This thing will get put together with some rivets, 2 rivets, nice assembly work, and pretty easy to put to yourself together one of these kits. Again, the links for this will be down in the description down below, and you can find them over at our website, blacksmithpdfs.com. So the very first thing that we're going to start on is we're going to start on the handle itself. We're going to get it forged somewhat to shape and dimension. Of course, if you already like it the shape that it is, you can just leave it like it is. There's no further things that you need to do with this other than drill some holes to be able to rivet it onto your panhandle. However, I like to break down the edges and forge this area just a little thinner than what's provided in the kit, and so that's what we'll go work on now. Okay, so the first step in making one of these skillets, we're going to forge off this center portion here. Again, I like to stretch this out a little bit. Now, as we do this, this is going to want to cup on us, and it is my suggestion to just go ahead and let it do so, because I like to have a little bit of curvature in my handles anyhow. I feel like the little bit more of that radius feel to it really makes it feel nice in the hand. So you can see it's kind of smooth there. You got a nice little radius there. We're going to keep this flat. We're going to keep it in line. Now again, this is completely optional. This is something that I like to do. This is not necessarily something that you have got to do. Just to remind you of that. I like to make it a little narrower in my panhandle myself. But again, that is me. That does not necessarily have to be your journey when making this. That's why it's your kit. You can make it however you want, or whatever best suits the needs of you or your customer you might be making this for. All right. So basically within that heat, we've just about got that handle shaped. I would like to add a little bit more radius in this dimension. So I'll hammer it against the corner there. Just give myself a little bit more radius at the top of the hammer, at the top of the handle for the skillet. And there we go. And so now basically the rest of this work is just straightening work to get it straightened up. So we'll take one more heat. We'll get this a little bit more straight, and then that will be done. Okay, bringing it out again. Going to try to get this straightened up. Looks good in that dimension. Looks good in this dimension for my purposes. And I got that curved back a little bit where I want it. Again, don't be afraid to adjust this and move it to suit yourself. So now we're going to put a bit of a curvature in it. Now I'm kind of over curving it a little bit. It won't literally stay this way. I find that if you just curve it over a little bit, go a little over where you want it, and then bring it back, it has a much nicer, it just seems to form a lot nicer to do it that way. It's something I've been doing for years, and I just keep doing it because it just tends to form out a little bit nicer. So now we'll lay it on the anvil top. You'll see what I'm talking about. We'll bring this back now. Bring this curvature back. Draw a little bit of that curvature back out. And say we can just walk right into that really shallow curve that we want. For whatever reason, it just seems to behave better for you if you take it a little past where you want it to go and then walk it back on the piece like that. It just seems to work just that much better. So there you go. That pan handle is finished. That is done. If you want, you could go ahead and add your touch mark to it. I usually touch mark down at the base near the skillet itself on the back side of the handle itself. So there, that is finished. Now on to the fun part. Let's form a skillet body. Okay, so the first step in forging the body itself, you want to get yourself a pair of dividers, as I call them. Some people call these compasses. Either or, doesn't matter what you want to call them. Basically, you just need to have two sharp tips of reference point set at whatever you want your size of your edges to be. Now, I personally like about a 2-inch lip all the way around. So we just set this down. So I set my dividers at 2 inches, and now I'm marking the plate right on around with a line, a nice scribe line at 2 inches, all the way around the piece, and just making them connect. Now this is a rough reference line. You have to remember this. This is a rough reference line. It may end up getting a little distorted as you go along. This is just so you can aim for what's going to become the bottom of the pan. And I don't know if there's a better way of showing that line to you. But that's what we're wanting. We want that to be about roughly 2 inches, okay? And that's where we're at. Another way of doing this is we know that we're at 10 inches, say, across the skillet. You can set your dividers, if you will, for half of 10 inches, which is 5 inches. So set it up for 5 inches, all right? And then you can go ahead, and if it's set at 5, you should be able to come to the edge here and find the center. Okay? You should be able to find the center of the plate. And once you find the center of plate, you should be able to get a nice little mark started with the center point of the dividers there. And then you move it back 2 inches from, say, that 5 inches or 5 1/4 inches, because I believe these are 10 1/2 to make up for the allowance, and they are. They're 10 1/2. So you'll want to set your calipers at 5 1/4, move it back 2 inches, and then make your mark from there, and then you can draw it all around and scribe it. Hopefully that makes sense. The easiest method is just say what size you want your sidewalls to be of your skillet, set your dividers to that, or a set of calipers if you like. Set those to that dimension, and then just scribe it on around like you've seen me do there. So hopefully you guys can see some of that line there traced out. So that is going to be our reference line that we are going to be following along. So now we will get this piece heated up, and we'll be going over to the swedge block. Okay, I've basically got this plate almost up to temperature. Real quick note, my method for forging these skillets is pretty simple. I use a set hammer. If you don't have a set hammer, this can be just a piece of square mild steel with the faces rounded off slightly on the edges. And then I use a soft face hammer. Now, obviously, if you use a chunk of mild steel, you can just use your regular hand hammer. I like to set, if you don't have a handled thing like this, you can use a pair of tongs to grip or weld on a rod to your chunk of mild steel as a set hammer. But the operation is going to be as follows. We are going to forge around the edge. We're going to line up those lines with the edge of our swedge block depression, and then we're going to hammer down just to the offside, not on top, but just to the offside. And what that's going to do is create a small crease. And once we chase that crease all the way around, it's going to slowly bring up those sides to us. And that's what we're wanting. You will want to wear gloves for this process. Trust me, that plate, the amount of radiant heat that it puts off is absolutely unbearable against your knuckles. So you will need to wear a pair of gloves during this operation. Thick leather gloves are okay. You can also wear like MIG gloves if you want to do that as well. Just some things to keep in mind there. So all right, this piece is good and hot. We're going to pull it up here. I'll put it on over the swedge block. It doesn't really matter what that depression's doing underneath. All I'm searching for are my lines. And as I find my lines, as soon as I find my lines, that's where I'm going to be hammering around. This is a lot easier to do, by the way, than having a bright light shining across the plate. It's a little easier to do in the dark. So again, this is going to start sinking down our swedge block. This can be any depression. It does not have to be a swedge block. The important point is to just follow your line and have a place to support one edge while you sink the rest of it. Okay, we're going to stop there. Interesting note, if you're into forging platters, this is another way that you could be forging a platter. So again, I'm just trying to follow my little scribe line right on around as I go here. It's really hard to see with the lighting, the way the lighting's hitting it across the flat here, because it's down. It's better to see it when it comes across at an angle. But I can see it just enough to follow it right on around. So we can see how we're starting to set that bottom down. So now I'm going to focus my heat intensity on the areas that aren't previously worked. So that's where I'm going to focus my heat now. It's going to be on the areas that we haven't worked yet. The other areas, they're okay right now. So if you're kind of jockeying for position in a fire, or you have to spot heat this, heat the area to be worked, don't worry about the area that has already been worked as much. All right, nice and hot. We're going to set it back down on the swedge block, and we're going to continue right on around this piece, finding our line and sticking to it. Now, once you've made a trip around this piece, then you can start deepening this quite a bit. But we want to make our first trip around finding our lines first and foremost. Alrighty. So there you have it. Hopefully you guys can see how that's coming up now. So now we've got the bottom formed. Now we'll deepen this ever so slightly. We'll keep deepening that for right now. So all we're doing right now, grab Mr. Thing here. All we're doing right now is we are depressing the bottom of this skillet. We've made our marks all the way around. Now it's time for us to really get into it. We're gonna get this whole thing hot, and we're gonna go in one nice even motion as we hammer around trying to sink this thing down deep. As we sink that down deeper, these sides are gonna wanna stand up on us because they're being pulled. They're being sucked down into the block itself or whatever depression. This can just be a large piece of pipe. This can also be a brake drum or something like that. Just anything with a big pipe, a big cavity below it that you can sink this thing down that will support your edges while you do so. So we'll go ahead and get this hot again. Okay, we've got this piece nice and hot. Into the block it goes. Again, now, like I said before, now we can really come across this piece and start hammering the bottom down. Just gonna keep our hammer going nice and even. Of course, you can use a regular hand hammer to try to hammer like this. I have just happened to find that it's a lot easier to have a set hammer to do this work. It is so much easier to have a set hammer to do this work. Again, right around the bottom we go. That's going to create this nice, deeply sunk skillet. Now, if it gets too cold on you, put it back. It starts jumping around. That's not what you want. You want to put it back in the fire. Get that area back hot again. So as you can see, right round and round we go. All right, I'm going to work on this one little edge here. It's not quite as sunk as deep as the others. And again, the goal here is just keep your hammer blows nice and even. We want the edge of this, the bottom edge of this pan to look fairly nice and round and symmetrical. Alrighty, right on around we go. It's definitely deep enough on that side. This edge here had a little more to go. All right. Okay, now to hammer up our sides. I like using either a rawhide mallet or a wooden mallet. This is just a chunk of 4x4 lumber I had, and I just shoved a hammer handle into it and put a screw in the side of it. Again, really simple, basic tools. I'm going to use this little rawhide mallet. We're going to bring it out of the forge, nice and hot. I'm going to stand it up on end, and then I'm going to hammer the arch that you see in it out. Now, you may not be able to see this in video, but you will be able to see it if you're making one of these. It'll have a little bit of an arch to it, like a bow. And we're going to aim for the crest of that O, that bow, or that arch. And just like that, we've got our side up already. So now all I got to do is heat the rest of this up, and we will continue that right on around. Keep your anvil clean somewhat of the scale that's involved here. You will want to keep that clean. So there we go. So you guys can see that. Hopefully you can see this little bit of a bow that this has now, because it being sunken down in that depression. It's got that bit of an arch. You're hammering on the apex of that arch. And when you do that, up comes the sides almost instantly. So we'll heat that back up, and we'll progressively move around the piece as we go. Alrighty, so there you go. There you have it. Now, say you want to turn this into more of a saucepan. You want the walls to be steeper and higher. All you have to do at this stage is reheat up the bottom and sink it down in whatever your swedge block is, whether that be a round piece of pipe or an actual swedge block. All you've got to do is drive the bottom down a bit more. Again, this will suck in. This little bit on the sides will kind of fold out. You'll aim at those humps, and then back up it goes, and this gets even taller. Most skillets have a fairly low rim because it's a skillet and it's not a saucepan. So there you have it on that. Let me go over here and grab the handle so you guys can see how this is going to start kind of coming together. Now obviously, if the rim's a little too wonky for your liking, it might have some ups and downs. You're going to iron that out with a couple extra heats to try to, get it all nice and one even flush and flatness around. So you guys can start seeing how easy this come together. Again, this literally there's been no heats taken off camera. Every heat that I've taken has been in real time on camera for you, so you can see how that's gone, how that has gone. So now if you are doing something like a miner's pan, like a skillet or a rendezvous type thing, you want to leave your skillet a little bit more in the rougher stage here, because they generally like that a little bit better. They don't like the polished out look. Now, if you're going to be selling this to, say, clients, hiring clients or asking more money as you forge one of these skillets out, say if you're going to get into selling them and you're trying to get them into like a boutique or something of that nature, you're really going to, or a bespoke gallery, you're really going to want to take and correct the finish on this by grinding this clean and polishing it all up nice and shiny, and then go ahead and seasoning it. That's what you're going to want to do. Again, there's several different levels of finish you can go on a skillet that you see here. So now the last heat that I'm going to do, I'm actually going to straighten out this edge, so I won't be showing that heat, but we'll get this edge straightened out, and then it'll be on to assembly work. Okay everyone, so what we've done here is I went ahead and ground all of this down nice and shiny as you see it here. This was with just a 60 grit, I believe it is, flat disc. Just ground this all off, got all that nasty scale off of there with a 60 grit flat disc. That's all that's needed. If you want to take this the extra level, you can grind the center portion down even further with maybe a 120 grit or a 240 grit to get this inside, even smoother. I wouldn't worry so much about the outside. That's okay if that's got some forge marks in it and things like that. It sells the look of this being a hand forged pan. So again, that's kind of what you want. You don't want this to look like a manufactured pan. So yeah. Good to go like that. Now, I've already taken the liberty of drilling both holes in this handle. As always, I like my setup for doing these. I like to drill the holes in the pan handle first. I like leaving enough room to where there's at least an 1/8 inch of material around each of the rivet holes themselves. Then I clamp it with a vise grip like you see here. I drill one hole, I put the rivet in, I go rivet it at the anvil, and then I drill the second hole, and then I rivet it. I drill the second hole after this one's been riveted. I drill the second hole then, and then go back and rivet it at the anvil. This ensures that everything stays nice and in line. If you drill both holes and then you rivet one hole, without the other hole having a bolt or something in it already, another rivet in there, it's going to shift on you. And that's not going to be a good thing. So I like doing it one step at a time. It always ensures that this always comes out the same. So there we go. So let's go ahead and get this drilled now. Okay, so here we are. We've had one rivet already driven down, nice and tight. We've got the dome head on the inside of the pan. Now we'll get our next rivet out of our bag. Again, this all comes with the kit over at our website, blacksmithpdfs.com. It's where you can buy this skillet kit at. We'll put that through the hole. Now we will balance this on the tail of the anvil as well. If you've got the horn of the anvil, all you have is a horn, you can do that, or on the corner of your anvil. Basically, you just need a place to support the rivet that won't bang into the pan body itself. And there you have it. That's riveted on there. And that is going nowhere. Man, you can think about doing up some taters, some eggs or bacon in that, no problem. So now the last step is the finish work. Now you have a couple options here. My favorite option is to do this in the oven. If you have a very broil setting in your oven, I suggest you use that. Or if you can set it up to about 500 degrees, you do that. Rub this with your favorite oil that you like to cook with, food safe cooking oil. Rub that down with that and you're ready to go. Be advised, if you are selling this as a product to somebody, you do need to keep in mind that there are food allergies out there. So you may want to avoid seasoning these unless you ask your customer what type of season they prefer. Some people are allergic to things like coconut. Some are allergic to olive oil and things like that. So just be mindful of that. Just because it's good for you, good for the goose is not always good for the gander. So anyways, so there we are. That's nice and finished up. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and season this down with some coconut oil, and I'm actually going to use the forge right back there. I'm going to heat this up ever so lightly until it starts getting to a blue color, and I'll take you through that process, and then we'll rub it down with some coconut oil to season this whole thing off. And this pan will be done. Okay, so I've just got done heating this. It's went a little bit past the point of blue, which is good. I'm going to throw in my coconut oil and just kind of work it all around. As you can see, this is going to smoke quite a bit, and that's going to help to give me this darkened finish once I get this coconut oil spread around here. Rub the back side down. Around we go. Create ourselves a nicely seasoned finish. Now the great thing about steel pans like this, let me crack up some of my coconut oil here. It's really cold in the shop. Anyways, what I was going to say is the nice thing about steel pans is that they season with age. So like the more you use them, the more you cook with them, the better they get. So if you don't like the finish now, just wait. They just improve as they go. Again, you're going to want to be doing this. If you're doing it in the forge like this, you definitely want to have a well-ventilated space. Rub that down. And there you have it. Your skillet, your very own skillet, made from a Christ Center Ironworks skillet blank. Can't ask for better than that. That thing's ready to go make some eggs or some bacon. So that's it for today. Thank you all for watching this video. Again, if you would like to purchase this blank kit, again, it's the traditional handle style with a 10-inch skillet blank. There will be a link in the description down below to do that over at our website, blacksmithpds.com. And of course, we offer these in smaller diameters, an 8-inch skillet, and then we also offer it in the Big Mac Daddy, a 12-inch skillet variety for larger families. A 10-inch is a nice all-around skillet for most people. You know, if you just got a small amount of a breakfast you're making for yourself or something, or you and a loved one, a 10-inch skillet's just about perfect for that. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching this video. As always, if you have any questions, you can drop them in the comment section down below. God bless each and every last one of you, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching.